I want to go across now to Rajat Sethi. Now, here's the proposition. Someone like a Chetan Bhagat, I'm not personalizing this, but someone like a Chetan Bhagat was in the past seen as a supporter of the Modi government, somebody who thought that this was the right man at the right place. Now seems to think that Rahul Gandhi is rising. He's accepting the good work that Prime Minister Modi has done, but he's saying that the BJP is now disconnected, that people in the middle class have been writing against this budget. He's finding a receptive audience. As somebody who's worked in BJP campaigns, how are you looking, without getting personal, that's not the idea, how are you looking at this pivot from being so seen as being so pro-Modi to now saying, okay, this guy is no longer Pappu, he's making these khatakhat comments and they're connecting?
See, I agree with you. There is no point in attacking the messenger. What is important is to look and understand the message that messenger is bringing here, Chetan is bringing. What needs to be unpacked, and I agree with some of his observations. First of all, the hard fact is that BJP is still 15% ahead of the Congress party, one-on-one. Swinging 1% of vote from one side to the other side takes gigantic efforts. I can tell you based on my experience of running campaigns. Then, therefore, bridging the gap of 15% is monumental challenge before the Congress party, in spite of all the likes and all the views that they are garnering over YouTube, number one. Number two, governance is always boring. You have to defend at times the indefensible. That is the nature of governance because of the constraints that you operate in. विपक्ष की राजनीति होती है. You know, you can oppose the government on everything that is out there because you don't have to rule the government, right? You're sitting in the opposition. Criticism is fairly easy. Look at what is the model of governance that is put up by Rahul Gandhi and his representatives in respective states. Pick up the state of Karnataka. The state of Karnataka has been rendered largely bankrupt. The politics of Karnataka has been rendered into that perfect zero-sum game where you're pitting the locals against people who have gone into that to build up the state and the country together. You have put it up one community versus the other. The same goes in Telangana. Now you are giving up examples after examples which are not meeting the expectations that you are putting forth before the public in a rather theaterized manner in the parliament. My problem is that why does Rahul Gandhi not pick one state and say that this is one state that I am going to govern by the model that I am trying to represent through my talks? Make that a model state. Try and,
those
implement
caste surveys. He will
not be able to do caste surveys in Maharashtra. He's sitting, by the way, on the caste survey in Karnataka. Why does he not have the guts to go out and roll reservations along the caste lines or even release the caste survey in the state of Karnataka?
Those are strong counters, and I want Chetan Bhagat to respond because you're challenging the premise of what Chetan is saying. Talk is cheap, governance is boring. You know, being in the opposition is always exciting and glamorous. You can say what you want. It's much tougher to actually fix the system, which is what Prime Minister Modi is trying to do. Rahul Gandhi has nothing to show in terms of a model state. Look at Karnataka, look at Telangana and how their fiscal situation is deteriorating. So he's just making tall claims, and making tall claims are easy. He's got no active model to actually demonstrate what he can do if it were to come down to that.
That is probably correct. That is probably correct. It's more fun to be in the opposition. You know, the India Alliance should be really thankful. They didn't come to power. Otherwise, they had no idea. कौन बनेगा? कौन क्या करेगा? कैसे काम चलेगा? देश कैसे चलाएंगे? इतना सोचा ही नहीं था कि हम जीत ही जाएंगे. So they are very lucky that they get to sit in the opposition and comment. It's fun to comment, right? And it's harder to govern. But you know what? This is exactly what happened to UPA too. They were saying the exact same thing. Every day, Kapil Sibal used to come, and so many other people like from the Congress who were in power then used to come and say, "अरे यार हम चला रहे हैं ना, हमसे पूछो कितना मुश्किल है चेंज करना ये करप्शन." नहीं आप कल तक खत्म करो, अगले हफ्ते तक करप्शन खत्म हो जाना चाहिए इंडिया में. ये होता था ना कि नहीं होता था. So this is finally the thing is he is learning, and Rahul Gandhi is trying to pick up, some of these tricks and trying to use his position to gain, because he can sell hope. And this is third term for the government. For them, it's all about, okay, now show us.
Chetan counters by saying this is what opposition leaders do. They build hope. In some ways, the UPA too also, the issue is, in his previous term, Prime Minister Modi seemed to have an air of invincibility. Rahul Gandhi is now trying to puncture that. Do you think to some extent that is succeeding? How do you respond to what Rajat is saying?
So what Chetan just said, around 2012, 2013, when, Prime Minister Modi was then the chief minister and rising figure politically, he had a credible experience of 10 years of running and actually beating every single state in the rest of the country. So he was coming with an alternative model to what was being challenged during
Rahul
the
has no
UPA
alternate model which is
Right now,
proven.
where
How
is
do
the
we know he
alternate
can
model?
govern? Chetan Bhagat, respond to Rajat's concern.
We don't know, but he'll say, give me a chance.
But you already have
We will
chance,
only
Chetan.
know.
He already has
नहीं,
chances
मतलब वो-
in the states. What is he doing in the states? He has chance. Pick one state, make it a model state. Instead, you are making a model state into a garbage state. Karnataka
Yes,
has
sir,
now
that- you know,
become
you-
But
you-
Karnataka was hardly ever a
policy
model
experiment.
state. Rajat, I'm sure you don't believe that.
Rajat, you've actually given a pretty good suggestion. That's exactly what the BJP did. They said Gujarat is a model state. We'll put the Gujarat model all over the country. But you are absolutely right. If that's a pretty good advice to Congress, that they should actually demonstrate.
Speaking of that,
at
let
some
me
point
go.
they will have to. At some point, I
Let me
agree
go
that
across to
the
Rajiv
mere
Desai,
talk won't-
who's worked on Congress campaigns going back to the 80s. Mr. Desai, Chetan Bhagat and Rajat Sethi both arguing, talk is cheap, you can say what you want, and it sounds aggressive, and you get some likes and you get some clicks. But the Congress at this moment has no model state. You had Karnataka, and we're seeing the mess unravel in Karnataka, from the Muda scam to the SC/ST scam. It's really a mess. You can say what you want, but the Congress hasn't in any state demonstrated they can govern better than the BJP. Rajiv Desai.
Well, first of all, I think Chetan Bhagat made some really stupendous points. He was pretty clear and pretty articulate, and I think what everybody would do well to listen to what he has to say. That's number one. Number two, as far as Rahul Gandhi's performance in Parliament, I think he made several points. If I can sort of interpret them, he said, first, this government doesn't know what it's doing on the economic front. B, this government is staying in power by sowing divisive seeds of religion, seeds of caste, seeds of geography, seeds of everything, and staying in power by that. Now, also remember that Mr. Modi had claimed that he'd get 400 seats, but forget 400. They lost even more seats than they had. So,
No, but that's one way of looking at it. 10 years later, if you end up at 240, net, it's a very commendable showing. 10 years after being in power, the Congress crashed to a fourth. No, I'm just saying, I'm just stating the data for what it is.
No, you're not stating any data.
Rajiv Desai, calm down on the aggression. I'm saying for any party to get 240 seats after being in power for 10 years, compare that to where the UP ended up 10 years of being in power.
To where it does not have enough seats on its own to form a government. That's all I said. Now, what is there to argue about in that? Unless you're a spokesman. So the fact is that they lost seats. They are not in no position to form a government on their own. They have to deal with two rather, shall I say, allies who are not somewhat reluctant, somewhat demanding, whatever. So it's not all cream cheeses here. So they have to try and understand. Now, this is where the problem is, that they've never learned the art of accommodation. They've never learned the art of listening. So they're in trouble. And they've gone down to 240 seats or whatever it is. And Rahul is going after that. And I think that's more power to him. I think as the opposition leader, he has all the right to do that. And I think it would do well for us to just listen to what he had to say. You don't have to agree with it, but you can listen. At least there's a different viewpoint. That viewpoint, as somebody else noted, was never heard before. Now it's had to be heard.
Okay.
People have to listen.
Now, Sanjay
I wasn't talking.
Okay, I want to go across to Sanjay.
I wasn't talking to. I haven't finished.
Okay, go on.
So and acknowledge that you've lost a huge chunk of your support in terms of parliament seats, that you are no longer the commander of everything you see, that you have to make adjustments for different views, different etc. And you may even have to consult the opposition because you don't know how to govern. You don't know economics for sure. because the economy is a complete
Now, please
mess.
don't make
no matter what
irresponsible
anybody
statements.
says, everybody
Okay. Now, Sanjay
all over
Jha,
the
I want you to
world,
respond to two
all
things.
over
What
the
you're hearing
world,
from
all the-
Chetan Bhagat and also what we heard from Rahul Gandhi in Parliament. The BJP's charge is Rahul's trying to divide India. Instead of trying to unify, be mature, be sensible, he's saying these things, he's getting claps and clicks for it, but essentially it's trying to divide India along caste lines. Sanjay Jha.
Rahul, that's a preposterous charge. It's laughable, it's ridiculous, it's absurd, it's atrocious, it's ludicrous. Now, that answers your question. Let's not even waste time in BJP's rather crude and extremely misleading rhetoric. Give me 30 seconds and I'll try and answer all the points. I don't need so much of time. Point number one, nobody can deny Rahul Gandhi has been a victim of the most vituperative, vicious campaign of character assassination that any political personality in India has ever faced, at least in my living memory. And I think the Pappufication project is dead and buried. Rahul Gandhi today is the agenda. Rahul Gandhi is the story. Rahul Gandhi is setting the narrative. Let's get real about it. Point number two, it's very rich for the BJP to have ridiculed him in the past and got away with it when you have a prime minister who after 10 years doesn't even have the courage to do a press conference, speaks on a teleprompter. And if you heard his speeches during the election campaign, I have
Stop
not heard
making
any
stupid
political
allegations,
leader.
Sanjay
I
Jha.
requested Rahul for no interruption. I'm not going to take too long. No political leader made as crude, vulgar speeches as Mr. Modi made. Brands are made
lying.
by what you do. Brands are made by what you say. Mr. Modi's brand is diminishing fast. And I don't want to get into what's going to happen in the elections. We'll see in a couple of months. Point number three, you know why Rahul Gandhi is becoming a rage? I'll tell you why. He's becoming a rage. Trust me. I'm saying so myself when I have very often in the past been critical because he used to go into hibernation. He's taking up issues that are connecting with the people at last. It's not that he was not saying them earlier. Crony capitalism is today hitting the sweet spot in everybody's head and heart. I've seen how one very fancy, big fat wedding is actually an object of memes. Nobody had imagined that around a year ago. Point number two, political power. You know, his whole talk about 2-3 people running the country, I think everybody today is talking about it. Even people who don't know what to talk about democracy and constitution.
No, but
are
maybe
beginning
these
to
are the
say,
people you're
"We
speaking
don't
to
want
because that's your echo
autocracy."
chamber, Sanjay Jha.
No, hang on, let me finish. Point number three, regulatory power, the capture of institutions, the CBI, ED, income tax, the whole washing machine story has connected. If you hear Rahul today, he's talking about the chakravyuh. He's talking today in a soundbite friendly language that has a potential of amplification. And I think that is exactly what politicians need to do in a society suffering from an acute attention deficit.
You know,
the bottom line, Rahul, is this.
Rahul.
That Rahul Gandhi has arrived. Let's not spend any more time
Sanju Verma,
in that
the
confabulation.
data suggests for what it's worth that his social media posts are clicking more than those of others and that there's been a big spike. Sanjay Jha uses that to suggest that Rahul Gandhi has arrived and that the Pappufication project is long dead and buried.
Rahul, I want to say a couple of things. First and foremost, there's a famous saying, I remember as a marketing student by Philip Kotler, that the biggest disservice you can do to a brand is not knowing when it is dead and not taking it off the shelf. And I say that for Rahul Gandhi. You have the likes of a done and dusted Chetan Bhagat. You have the likes of a suspended variety leader called Sanjay Jha, whom his own party does not take seriously. You have the likes of a Rajiv Desai, who's here today, gone tomorrow, sitting here waxing eloquent about the strengths of Rahul Gandhi. So मैं इनको याद दिला दूं. For the first time in 62 years, the incumbent came back to power, and that man is Narendra Modi. When the incumbent or his party lost elections in Brazil, lost elections in United Kingdom, the incumbent lost elections in 2020 in the United States, the incumbent lost elections in Indonesia, Malaysia, what have you. So the first and limited point is Narendra Modi has chosen to buck the trend by doing what none of his global peers managed to do. He's come back romping for the third time in a row as the Prime Minister. The second point, and very important, please don't rush me, Rahul Kanwal.
No,
you keep saying that, Pappufication of Rahul Gandhi is over. अरे राहुल गांधी जैसे पप्पू को सपोर्ट करने के लिए चेतन भगत, संजय झा जैसे पप्पू आकर यहां पर भाषण दे रहे हैं, एंड यू स्टिल से राहुल गांधी हैज क्रेडिबिलिटी. नरेंद्र मोदी डज नॉट केयर whether a Chetan Bhagat writes op-eds for him or not, whether Sanju Verma comes and speaks about Modinomics or not. But Rahul Gandhi ने benchmark इतना low set कर दिया है that despite the fact that the Congress could not touch 100 seats even after being out of power for 20 long years, that itself shows that brand Rahul is not working on the ground.
Chetan Bhagat, respond to what we are hearing from the BJP spokesperson, that this is the consequence
Rahul,
of the
I'd like to
base
give a
effect.
rejoinder.
Just one second. This is the consequence of the base effect, because expectations from Rahul Gandhi were so abysmally low. Therefore, any resurgence from a very low base seems as if it's a massive turnaround. The comparison ultimately is 240 versus 99, and there is a big gap there. Third time round, Prime Minister Modi is in power and Rahul Gandhi is in the opposition, and after being out of power for 10 years, that's a pretty happy situation for the BJP and should be an unhappy situation for the Congress. Chetan.
Ma'am, Rahul Kanwal, most of the argument of the spokesperson is about making personal attacks on us and how we are trying to be
I
relevant.
gave a
How
lot
does
of
coming-
data. I gave a lot
No,
of
okay.
data. at the
Let him
outset,
speak.
Chetan Bhagat.
Sanjuji, you've spoken.
Most
Let him
मैंने
speak.
कहा ना,
I gave you a lot
most.
of data which
आप मेरा भी डेटा, मतलब अब मैं क्या बोलूं, I mean it's fine. So if we are irrelevant because we are not, अभी praise करो तो relevant, praise ना करो तो irrelevant. Firstly, I don't know, इतना touchy होने की कोई बात है नहीं. The question is some feedback I'm giving, and Sanjay Jha is of course defending the Congress and saying this. There is a base effect. There is a lot of advantages, but Rahul has some big disadvantages. I'll tell you the big disadvantages, which nobody has mentioned. He has a big dynasty baggage, which will be played, and the BJP plays it. Some great grandfather was your first PM, abhi tak chale ja raha hai, all this, the Ahmad, the Shehzada and all that will there. And all of Congress sins. ऐसा नहीं है ना कि Congress has had a perfect rule. So from emergency to riots, Sikh riots, to all kind of things, corruption scams, Rahul will have to answer them, and they will attack him on that. So there's a lot of, it's not like it's an easy, done deal right now for him. There's a lot of work to be done. You're right, he's untested. He, as a PM, he's been around, yes. But at the same time, is there some traction? Ask any social media agency, ask anybody relevant. I don't know who is relevant, anybody who's relevant who's not in the BJP. I would love to know. And you can ask them. तो वो बता देंगे. Data of doing good things is fine. Politics perception पे चलता है. जितने मर्जी ग्रोथ हो जाए, जितने मर्जी नंबर्स हो जाए, ये सच भी हो सकते हैं सारे नंबर, लेकिन ये व्हाट पीपल आर परसीविंग. डिड यू मीट माय एक्सपेक्टेशंस? डिड यू बीट माय एक्सपेक्टेशंस? वर यू बिलो माय एक्सपेक्टेशंस? And if a certain section, it's a certain section. We are talking 4-5% vote share, right? The base is still intact. There are people in this country who will say, don't give me lunch and dinner, I'm going to vote BJP.
No, but I'm out of time on this conversation. But Sanjay Jha, the point that was made by Rajat Sethi was the 15% gap in vote share at the base. Moving the base on a national basis by 1 or 2% is a monumental task. There's the difference of light and day at this moment in the vote share of the two big national parties. Very quick to sum this up and wrap it up. Sanjay Jha.
Rahul, I'll tell you why that is an atrocious argument used by the right-wing cheerleaders, because that's exactly what they said before the 2024 elections in Uttar Pradesh, and you saw what happened. Politics is dynamic, Rahul. It changes. The BJP went from 2 to 300. They could be down to 100 seats. I'm going to tell you this right now, that after the Bharat Joro Yatra, and now as a leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi is a
still sitting in the opposition.
He is a transform man. If
Narendra
there are
Modi is
snap
Prime
elections
Minister
led
for
of the
third
Lok
term.
Sabha today, don't be surprised if the BJP today could be down to 150 seats. I think brands rise up, brands diminish. And I think the bottom line is this, Rahul, that today the attempt of the BJP to humiliate Rahul Gandhi will boomerang against them even more.
Okay,
My
you've had your
prediction,
say.
the BJP
Very
has
quickly,
lost
Sanju
votes today.
Verma, 20 seconds, final words.
Rahul, I will again quote the Prime Minister. This is one of the favorite quotes of his that I never get tired of quoting. तुम्हारे पांव के नीचे जमीन नहीं है, लेकिन कमाल तो ये है, तुम्हें यकीन नहीं है. Narendra Modi is leading the country for third time running. Okay. And look at the audacity of the Congress, despite not being able to win 100 seats in 3 Lok Sabha elections consecutively with Sanjay Jha types having a nice big omelette on their face. They are still dreaming in La La Land and hallucinating कि पप्पू
Okay.
प्रधानमंत्री बनेगा.
So you've had your time. Very quick final words from Rajat Sethi. Do you conceive he's a transformed man? Are you shocked by some of the transformation, or do you think it's all hawa mein?
I think the answer is somewhere in the middle. There are some early signs, especially from the Gen Z, which should alarm the BJP. BJP needs to communicate differently to the people to the youngsters who have not seen the UPA days. They don't have any frame to compare with. And I agree with Chetan here that the communication strategy of the BJP, the social media strategy of the BJP has to evolve with time. It has to be more dynamic. It has to be, it has to come out of its mold that it is stuck in, which is almost a decade-old mold.
Okay.
New molds, fresher people, young people should come in and try and give more freshness to the entire positioning of the party.
You're saying the party needs to hold a mirror to itself. This is what debates should do. Spark debate, have a fierce back and forth, which is what Chetan's comments have done. You've heard different sides. As always on the news track, I don't take sides. I leave my opinion outside the studio when I walk in. I try as best as possible to go around asking, analyzing and dissecting perspectives put out by our experts. Chetan Bhagat gets set to get trolled. You're gonna have a big troll army coming your way.
अभी relevant होना है राहुल अभी relevant होना है मैम ने कहा है अभी और करो मेहनत और अच्छा लिखो और लिखेंगे मैम कोशिश करेंगे मैम
Rahul, today Rajat Sethi has been the proverbial
अरे अपने ही सपोर्टर को आप अगेंस्ट कर दोगे तो कैसे होगा संजू जी? This is going to be a problem.
अच्छा टाइट रोकवा किया है. I'm complimenting him. रजत ने बहुत बढ़िया टाइट रोकवा किया है.
Rahul, a comment on Chetan. His book, Two States, The Story of My Marriage, is one of my favorite books. It's entertaining, it's funny, and every married person at some point will empathize with what he wrote in the book. That is one of my
BJP को compliment कर रहे हो तब तो नहीं आपने बोला, अब बोल रहे हो.
Well, I have disagreed with Chetan politically in the past during the time of the Anna Hazare agitation, which Chetan will now know, and he knows it was an RSS-sponsored one. So maybe I was right in retrospect. But the truth is, as far as this book writing is concerned, Two States remains one of the most entertaining books that anybody can